Hello everybody, and thank you for asking me to do this short presentation on our Erasmus Plus project titled Person-centredness in Healthcare Curricula. My name is Professor Brendan McCormack and I'm from Queen Margaret University in Edinburgh in Scotland, and I'm the project leader. But working in collaboration with our 6 partners, the Ulster University in Northern Ireland, Trinity College Dublin in Ireland, Fontys University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands, the University of South Eastern Norway, and the University of Maribor, of course. This project has come about because of our previous work that we have done through our international community of practice for person-centred healthcare, which has looked at the issue of the place of person-centredness in healthcare curricula. And we identified through a position statement that we developed that there was a lack of curricular development in this area, and that we expected practitioners to be able to work in a person-centred way, but yet many of our curricula did not reflect these same values. So we started our project in September 2019, and it's for 36 months, and we are due to end in August of 2022. And despite COVID, we have managed to stay progressing the project, and at this point in time we are largely on track, maybe a couple of months out of line. So as I said, the aim of this project is to develop an international curriculum framework for educating future person-centred healthcare practitioners. I think it's important to emphasise that we're not developing a standard European-wide curriculum. What we are developing is an international curriculum framework. So it is a framework for curriculum development that higher education institutions can use to develop actual curricula. So the objectives of our project is to develop a co-created set of themes that will reflect the context within which person-centred practitioners work, and to use them to underpin the curriculum framework. To identify learning outcomes that can transcend particular professional boundaries, but that reflect the person-centred qualities that we want from healthcare practitioners. To actually develop a curriculum framework that can be used by a variety of higher education institutions for the education of future person-centred graduates. And to design some stakeholder-focused innovative assessment strategies and tools that can be used in support of undergraduate and postgraduate curricula across the world. Like all Erasmus projects, they work on a set of outputs, and we have 6 outputs in this programme. Firstly, we have a review of global developments in person-centred healthcare. This is a broad-ranging scoping review of policy and strategy around person-centred healthcare. The second output is a stakeholder-derived set of principles for curriculum development, and these principles reflect both philosophical and methodological perspectives in person-centred teaching and learning. We will use those to then develop a framework for person-centred curriculum development, which will be our third output, and that framework will be developed through a systematic process of analysis of existing curricula, as well as engagement with a variety of international stakeholders. We will then use that to develop an actual curriculum framework that will be tested with those same stakeholders. And that framework will then be supported and complemented by a strategy of teaching, learning and assessment materials, a toolkit for want of a better term, that organisations can use to bring the curriculum framework to life and to implement the curriculum. And all of this is being supported by an online virtual community of learning. So our summary of outputs then transcends into our 3-year programme of work and the schedule of meetings. Although I have to say, of course, because of COVID-19, then these meetings have not happened in person, and whilst we continue to engage in the project, our meetings have been suspended and we are engaging more as a virtual community, which so far has been very successful. We've also got a project advisory board, and these represent key stakeholders from across our partnerships in our collaborating countries, and some other key stakeholders who are experts in this area. And together we are also connecting with our international community of practice for person-centered practice as a group of associate partners who are also informing the work as we proceed. So our timeline, as you can see here, takes us from our period in September 2019 right up to August 2022, and again we have still within our plan opportunities for multiplier events and for various transnational project meetings. And what we're aiming to do until the situation changes with COVID-19, to be able to host these as virtual events and virtual communities, and we're currently working on those as we speak. So this is just a summary of those same outputs. Finally, we have an evaluation built into our project. So we are evaluating the development of our outputs as we go, and I'll come back to our logic model in that regard. We're also obviously monitoring our project activity, and we have also built in a process and outcome evaluation, which will focus on our ways of working, what has been achieved, and how we have managed to achieve the framework by co-designing it with our key stakeholders. So that will be a key part of our evaluation. We are using a logic model in the development of our processes and outcomes, and this logic model is a key part of our evaluation because it enables us to really pay attention to what are the inputs that are needed, how we engage in activities, how we then connect those to the outputs, and what are the outcomes that are arising. We are using a standard template to capture that logic model, and you can see the questions that we are using to map out the logic of our developments as we go. So each one of our outputs has a logic model developed for it, and then we use that to evaluate the extent to which we have achieved the different components to arise at the final output. Just some other issues that we're working with. So as I said, whilst we have our 6 main partners, we also have a group of associate partners who are derived from our international community of practice for person-centered practice. And if you want to know more about that community, if you Google the ICOP for person-centeredness, then you should be able to find it. But any one of our partners can direct you to it as well. We also have a social media strategy. We have a Twitter account that we kind of promote what we're doing. And also we have an auditing and governance process set up, which is being maintained by the project administrator, who's based here at Queen Margaret University. And finally, I want to promote our first collection of outputs. Because we weren't able to hold a multiplier event as part of our first year of work, we decided instead to be able to use that money to develop an open access set of papers for the outputs. So we have got a special issue of the International Practice Development Journal, which is an open access journal that you can access for free. And in there, we have got this special issue, which is dedicated to our Erasmus project. There is an editorial in which I set out the context of that work. The first paper, which is a meta-synthesis of person-centredness in nursing curricula, is a paper that really sets out the beginnings of this work, the origins of this work that were undertaken at Ulster University. And the following 2 papers are essentially the first 2 outputs from our Erasmus project. The first one is the review of developments in person-centred healthcare, which sets out the strategic and policy context of person-centredness in healthcare globally. And the second output are the principles that we will use to underpin the development of the person-centred curriculum framework. And these are philosophical and pedagogical principles that have been developed collaboratively, and that, as I said, we will now be taking forward into a set of actions to develop the framework in our next output. So if you'd like to see that work, then please visit this journal website and you can download these papers for free, and they are all open access. Thank you, and we look forward to updating you further as this project progresses.